All right, Javi, you talked about this a little bit, but take us back to 1996 again, ACC champions at Virginia. Give us a story from that year that you'll never forget the rest of your life.
Well, there's so many. Like I said, there's not many I can share in this room, but it really got off to a great start. We took a trip to Arizona State, and I remember everybody walked on that field, and we were just in awe. We were like, this is big time baseball right here. Barry Bonds had gone there, the Abandos. There's big name after big name had gone to Arizona State. And we walk out there, and I remember this pretty fondly. I remember Coach Womack talking to us and saying, primarily, I don't know how you guys are going to do. I think you guys are ready. It's time to go out there and play some ball, lace them up. So sure enough, we go out there, and we lose right out of the chute. And we're like, oh, man, that's how it's going to be. But we come back, we bounce back, we win. And what really turns it for me is that, when we start playing in the ACC, we have a month of May, I think it is, or March, sorry. Then we really start rolling, coming together as a team. Seth Greisinger just becomes the greatest pitcher on the planet. And that was one of the turning points for me that really got it going. And my own personal favorite story about that is I actually got to start as a freshman in the ACC against Clemson. And we had a guy named Bradley who would be in the stadium. And mind you, we only had maybe 100 people in the stands tops. And Bradley was there, and he went ahead, and his favorite thing was to heckle every player. And you can hear him because there's only 100 people. So you're out there, and he's yelling. And I remember he's just yelling, Womack, why are you starting this guy? He's a freshman, and freshmen aren't good. And he just screams it while I'm on the mound, and I'm like, oh, gosh. Needless to say, again, didn't win that game. But it's one of those fond memories, and again, there's many more, but those are some of the things that stick out.
I'm interested, when you played here, you were a two-way player, and now your role in the big leagues is as a situational lefty where you might only pitch one inning, you might only face one batter. How has that evolved, your role in baseball? How weird is it just getting one batter out instead of playing both ways?
Well, it touches on the things that you were talking about. I think we're all competitive players. We've all been competitive people, and I tell myself that, first off, I got to thank Coach O'Connor for not revealing my college pitching stats, but for those of you that want to look them up, they're horrendous. So let you know that there is a future even if you've got bad numbers. I want to say that it was just one of those things where you just had to persevere. And, I always felt that I was a pretty good athlete, and I just wanted to hit more when I was here. I didn't really care about pitching. I just wanted to be able to play every day. And in hindsight, I wish I would have focused a little bit more on the pitching. But needless to say, it's just the transition. For me, it's about as close as I can get to getting back on the field every day, being a relief pitcher. I've been able to pitch in 70-plus games for most of my career, and I attribute that to just wanting to get out there and wanting to play. And it's not an easy transition. It's kind of funny. At times I feel like I look back on my career and I wonder that I'm a specialty guy. I'm just coming in to face one guy. Either I get him out or I don't get him out. And that's a lot of pressure. So I try not to think about it like that, but then I think about it beats doing anything else at this point in time. And so I think about a lot of my experiences here and the adversity that I've had to battle through and been able to come out on top, and I relish every moment I'm out there.
You have 3 World Series rings, including one in 2012 from the Giants. What made that team so special?
First and foremost, it's a real team. I feel like in 2010, pretty much the same team came back. The continuity was the same. The starting 5 did great. And you touched on it, that Tim Lincecum was in the bullpen. He didn't have the kind of year that he wanted to have, but there was Ryan Vogelsong to step up and take his lead, and Barry Zito, the resurrection of Barry Zito. It always starts with pitching. It always does. I'll firmly believe that pitching will always beat good hitting, and I've been a part of that 3 times now to just prove that case. And I think the starting staff really started the ball rolling. They really got hot for us, and I think that the cast of characters really came together. In 2010, it was the band of misfits, I think is what Bochy called us, and this past year it was a little bit more of the same. You've seen our games. 3 runs is a lot to ask for, and so when we get to 3 runs, we feel like we need to hold them to 2 or less. And everybody's mindset in that game is, what are we going to do to win that game? And it's a real team effort. The best thing about those kind of teams that I've been a part of is that the guys will hang out together. They'll go to eat together, go see movies together. We're just hanging out together as friends. And that's when a team is really coming together. When you see the pitchers with pitchers, position players, position guys, and there's no real intermingling going on, that's a recipe for disaster. And so when that unity is there, that's what's been special about San Francisco, and that's what I think will continue down there.
You relievers spend a lot of time in the bullpen. There's a lot of discussion out there, and your bullpen in San Francisco included some pretty oddball guys, led by Brian Wilson, who's as strange a guy as I've ever met, but very, very bright in his own right. Tell us a bullpen story or two on what you guys are talking about down there the whole night.
Tim, we're focused 9 innings. I don't know what you're talking about. We have tunnel vision. We don't look at any of the girls that are in the stands. Don't even know that they're there. We don't point out anybody that looks kind of funny in the stands. We're focused, okay? So, Brian, I tell you what, Brian Wilson, first off, he knows how to market himself. That beard, he's made more money with that beard, I think, than he has in his contract. He's a hell of an athlete. He's a tremendous competitor. He's the kind of guy that we get used to getting heckled. You don't want to respond. But there's those times when Brian Wilson just feels like it's go time with the fans. He's an easy target. So I remember we're in Pittsburgh, and for those of you who have ever been to PNC Park, it's a beautiful park. But a couple years ago, it wasn't that hard to find a ticket there. They weren't selling out. So these college kids come in, and they sit right along the fence, and they just start wearing Wilson out. And Wilson, from the first pitch of the game, hoodie up, has the hoodie. So all you just see is this huge beard. Getting worn out. We're winning the game. I think we're up like 10 runs, something like that. Finally, somebody says, Brian, I got my clippers right here. I'm going to come down and shave your beard. And for some reason, that set him off. That right there, that comment, rips his hoodie off, and some choice language, just basically points at the guy and gives him one of these and tells him, come into the bullpen right now. He even opens the gate for the guy. Meanwhile, the game's going on. No big deal. Just opens up the gate, says, come on down. Let's go. All his fraternity guys, because there was a fraternity there, they all start coming down. And he goes, you guys won't be first, but you can be next. Who's coming? And he keeps challenging every single guy. And we're like, Brian, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm bored. And that was it. And that's what he did every time. He keeps it loose, and that's what you need, and he's the perfect guy for that job, and I'm just happy I was his teammate.
Okay, last question from me, and then we'll take a few from the crowd. You have 2 World Series rings, and you're going to get a third. What do you do with those World Series rings? Where are they in your house? Do you wear them, and what are you going to do with your third one that's going to show up in April?
Well, first off, I am wearing the 2010 Giants ring. I can't tell you where I keep the rings, because who knows who might be listening. So I will just tell you that they're in a safe deposit box in a bank somewhere. They're sitting, hanging out. But no, I don't wear them very often. And actually, it's kind of funny. I'll name drop real quick. Terry Francona, when I won in Boston, my first ring in 2007. He told me this, and it's true to this day. Don't ever wear your ring, because when somebody shakes your hand, you are breaking your fingers, and that is the absolute fact. So I love wearing it because it's nice. It's a nice showpiece, but if you're shaking a lot of hands, your hand's hurting the next day. So I don't know what I'm going to do with number 3, but my wife and I kind of joke about this. Both of our kids have been born in World Series years. So my oldest daughter was born in 2010, and my son was actually born on the travel day in between Game 2 and Game 3 of this past World Series. So they both have their own rings. I know that where those 2 are going to go. I don't know where the Boston one's going to go yet, but we'll figure that out.
Okay, we have a few minutes left, so we'll take any question from the crowd. Raise your hand, and we will ask Javi any question you would like about anything you'd like, and he will be able to handle it, I'm sure.
Who has a question? Oh, right here. I got a Tony Gwynn body, but quick feet.
Tim, I really have a question for you. Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, should they be in the Hall of Fame, and will they?
Start with an easy one.
Thanks for an easy question to start with. They both got roughly 35% of the vote, and my guess is 10 years from now, you're going to be asking the same question. Because I don't think they're getting in for the next 10 years. They have 15 years on the ballot, and the way the voting went the first year, I'm not encouraged that they'll get in 15 years from now. I have been voting for the Hall of Fame for 23 years, and not to put a somber note on this, but this is now the hardest thing that I've ever had to do as a baseball writer. I have no chance anymore of being right. There is no right answer to this question. I'm sorry. I understand both sides completely, but there is so much gray area in between that every argument I come up with can be shot down immediately. Any argument from the opposite side can be shut down immediately. And I'm telling you that it is time for a national conversation on this subject, because the writers like myself need help, because there's just no right answers anymore. And it's very disconcerting for me to care this much about the voting process and wanting to do it right, and realizing no matter what you say, it's going to be wrong. So these guys are not getting in, and I wouldn't be surprised if 15 years from now, the guy with the 2 most home runs in baseball history, not to mention 6 of the top 11 home run hitters, and the greatest pitcher that most of us has ever seen, and the all-time hit king, none of them is going to be in the Hall of Fame. And then we're going to have a real discussion again about the relevancy of the Hall of Fame. It is an issue with no answer. And please, if someone has a good idea, I need help.
All right. Hopefully an easier question from Jack here.
Mr. Lopez, who's the toughest batter you've ever faced?
Right. I'd say the toughest batter I've ever faced is Barry Bonds. And only because, mind you, it was my first year in the league. So the year prior, I was in AA. So I thankfully skipped AAA, and I'm right in the big leagues. And I faced Barry Bonds, and this is 2003 Barry Bonds, and he's enormous. And I step in, and we're in San Francisco, and I throw my first pitch, and I get a strike, and then the catcher runs out, and it's Bobby Estalella, and he just says, "Hey, I don't know what you just did. We somehow got a strike. We're going to try to do this again." He runs back. Next ball at Barry's head. Not on purpose, obviously. And the only thing that Barry does, which was really intimidating back then, I'd have to get up. He stands there. He has a shin guard, basically, for an elbow guard. So he sits there, and he's wiggling. I throw the ball up at his head, and he just does this. And he doesn't step out of the box, doesn't do anything, and just starts doing that again. I'm like, oh, man, I'm in trouble. So that's definitely the hardest guy I've ever had to face. But honestly, some of the better hitters that I've ever faced, are, for me, I feel like Manny Ramirez has always been a difficult out. Some of the other big right-hander, Derek Jeter's a tough out. Some of the guys that are real good contact hitters, I feel like I have better chances against power guys because they're just trying to take me deep, and I can change the speeds pretty well. But contact guys has always given me a trouble spot there.
Got another question over here.
This one's for Mr. Lopez. So, what's it like winning 3 World Series?
What's it like winning 3 World Series? Great question.
Winning or being in them? Was it winning?
Winning.
Yeah. It's the greatest feeling that you could ever have. I don't know, whatever the coolest thing is you've done, multiply it by 100. And that's what that feeling's like. I mean, it's the pinnacle. It's where you want to be. One thing is to play in the major leagues. That's everyone's goal in this that's playing here for the Cavaliers. You want to play pro ball. You want to make it to the big leagues. But the pinnacle is to win a World Series and be able to do that 3 times. Like I said, I mean, there's nothing I can really say that can describe it. It's just something you have to experience. But it's something that, you finally reach the goal. You've looked out. The greatest thing about the World Series is that you look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and you're the only game in town, and that's when it really hits home. That's it. The season is over, and you finally accomplished something. It's an amazing feeling.
All right, got a question here.
Mr. Lopez, what was the fastest that you ever thrown?
What's your best velocity? Be honest.
The hardest I ever threw was 103. I did that in 2005.
Do you believe that?
No.
I don't have a good poker face. 95 was the hardest I've ever threw, and that was in the minor leagues when I was still a traditional over-the-top pitcher. The hardest I throw now, I think, would be probably 91, 92 tops.
All right, we'll take one more question here.
Javi, being part of the Red Sox Nation, could you share a good story about Manny Ramirez?
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course. My favorite Manny moment came in the same weekend. I watched Manny Ramirez hit his 500th home run off Chad Bradford in Baltimore. And for anybody that's seen Chad Bradford pitch, I throw sidearm, he throws submarine, he throws from his shoe tops. And Manny takes a fastball and hits it into right center in Camden Yards, and being typical, Manny stares at it. And it was the most amazing thing ever. He puts his arms up in the air and just watches it go. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Next day, or it might have been the day before, I kind of lose track. Ball, and he's playing left field, a ball to the wall, catches it, high-fives the fan in Baltimore, turns around and doubles the guy off at first base, comes into the dugout and stares at the TV monitors that are in there so he can see the replay, and then freaks out again. The guy is unbelievable. You know, my own personal story with Manny Ramirez is I was pitching in Anaheim in 2008, and I think this is on the blooper reels on MLB Network. I throw a pitch to Maizeri's Turris, jam him, pops it up, 130-foot fly ball to left field. Manny doesn't see it to begin with, jogs in, hits the ground while trying to lay out for it, commando crawls back to it, and then fireman rolls to the ball. I gave up a 130-foot triple, and that's the most amazing thing. And he just comes in and he goes, just, my bad, dog, my bad. That's it.
That concludes this evening's questions.